Thousands of homeless Australian children are being turned away from support services as the sector struggles to keep up with growing demand for help. The peak body, Homelessness Australia, has published a report showing more than 76,000 children approached support groups in 2022-23, but nearly 20,000 of them weren't given any assistance. Those working in the sector say state and federal governments must do something about it, pointing out the ways to help children in need. Stephanie Smale reports.
For children fleeing family violence, finding somewhere to stay is crucial for their safety and recovery.
These kids experience trauma, and stability and safe accommodation is the first answer to creating the steps towards rebuilding lives.
That's Yvette Jacksina, who helps run Regional Victoria's Centre for Non-Violence that helps women and children who are escaping from violence at home. But she says the combination of the housing shortage and underfunded services means many who need help aren't getting it.
Our staff do report to us, the incredible frustration and hopelessness in their work, particularly as a direct result of the housing crisis and their inability to find suitable and safe accommodation.
New child homelessness figures show more than 25,000 children who reached out for help in 2022-23 didn't find accommodation, an increase of more than 3% to the year before. And nearly 20,000 were turned away with no help at all, which the report attributes to a lack of resources and overwhelming demand. Kate Colvin is the CEO of Homelessness Australia.
It's children sleeping in cars, in tents, in the cold of winter. If they're off to school the next day, they've not slept well, they've not had a chance to sit and do their homework. The stress of being in that situation means that their mental health suffers.
Kate Colvin explains the answers to solving the problem are clear. Deliver better funding for support services, get more low-cost housing built, and address ways to prevent the problem by boosting income and rent support. She says the federal government has an opportunity to address those issues in its 10-year National Housing and Homelessness Plan, which she's expecting to be outlined by the end of the year. To really make a difference, she says the plan needs to ask the big questions, like what are the causes of homelessness and what needs to be done to stop it, with success measured in 3-year cycles.
So are we making the change that's needed? What do we need to change now? Is there enough housing for people on low incomes to afford housing and not become homeless?
Kate Colvin points out housing is a big issue for many Australian voters, arguing it would make sense for the new Housing Minister, Claire O'Neill, to have a clear plan in place ahead of the federal election.
It's a really important plan, both for the kind of policy change it will deliver, but also in terms of what it communicates to the public about government's ambition in relation to homelessness and the housing crisis.
The federal government is working with state and territory governments to develop the National Housing and Homelessness Plan.
Stephanie Smale reporting there. And in a statement, the Federal Housing Minister, Claire O'Neill, says the government's committed to tackling all aspects of the housing crisis and that it had given more funding to address it in the last budget than in the entire 9-year term of the previous coalition government.